Mighty, what a mighty God we serve. He's worthy, he's righteous, and he's able. Hey, God we serve, yes he is. Yes he is. Mighty God we serve. He's still worthy. I know he's righteous. He's still able. Yes, my God is. I know he's mighty. God we serve. Everybody know he's worthy. Yes, he is. He's still able. God we serve. We serve. He's able to heal your body. That's the kind of God we serve. Even when you're in your sin, he'll reach down and save your soul. Hey, he's a mighty God. He's a good God. I'm still here. I'm still standing because he's a mighty God. Anybody know we serve a mighty God? We serve a mighty God. Yeah. Mighty God. Yeah. Everybody clap your hands, clap your hands, clap your hands. Tell somebody, tell them we serve a mighty God. He's mighty to heal. Anybody know that he's a healer? Anybody know that he'll make a way where there is no way? Yeah, we serve a mighty God. What a mighty God. We serve a God who is able to do exceeding abundantly above all you can ask something according to the power that worketh in you.
There's a love so high
That you cannot get over.
that same love so wide.
It'll take forever just to get around it.
But love died somewhere behind that cross you wear. You're afraid when you look at me. That ain't real love, not the kind from above. There's a friend of mine
that stays closer than a brother.
Ooh, love laid down his life.
Why do we still fight one another?
All this hate I see on the TV screen in my country, 'tis of thee.
God help us to love
the way that you love me. Help us to love the way that you love me. Oh, this world is weeping, hurting, broken, and begging for change. Oh yeah, but still we marching, praying, dying, things stay the same. When will we see till everyone's free? There'll never be peace between you and me. God, your love is the cure for the rich and the poor. God, please will you open our eyes?
you cannot give.
Ooh, I wanna love so wide.
It'll take forever just to
No, but it don't come cheap. It takes everything to make love more than a dream. God help us to love. God help us to love. We need your love. Fill us with your love, Lord. We need your love. We need your love. God help me to love the way that you love me.
By popular demand, he's back on the air. Backpage with Pastor Jackson every Wednesday at 6 right here on 980 AM WDDO. The Glory. If you've been wondering where your old-time gospel favorites are, well, they are right here.
I'm on my way. See the day.
Every weekday at 9 a.m. where Vertice inspires us, lifts us, and takes us back with Walking Down the Lane. Come hear the oldies with Vertice on 980 AM WDDO. The Glory. Carswell's Residential and Commercial Cleaning Services, 158 High Hill Street in Irwinton, covering all the surrounding counties. Basic and deep home cleaning, laundry services, maid and housekeeper, commercial cleaning for gyms, schools, restaurants, medical offices, and electrostatic fogging, where they completely fog, sanitize, and disinfect the home or building to disinfect and help kill COVID-19. Call 478-251-4889 and ask for Erica Carswell. And visit their website at Carswell Residential Commercial Cleaning Services, LLC.com.
Dad always said there's two ways you can practice law. You can either be a jerk or you can be a gentleman. I prefer the latter. If you need us, the Dozier Law Firm is here for you.
I don't think I used the word jerk.
This is Bibb Sheriff David Davis. What does it take to be a Bibb County Deputy Sheriff? Physical agility? Yes. Mental aptitude? Of course. A moral compass that allows you to determine right from wrong? Absolutely. But it takes something more. A desire to be part of something bigger than yourself, a commitment to serve with respect and understanding when people need you the most. If you possess these qualities, please apply today. Call our recruiter at 478-621-5605.
Can I take y'all back to my hometown? See, I'm from Chicago and I like the blues. I don't know about y'all, but I'm gonna see if y'all remember this song right here. This for my old school, real churchy folk. Y'all put your hands together with me. Listen. Trouble in my way. Trouble in my way. I have to cry sometime. I have to cry sometime. So much trouble. I have to cry.
Connecting the community through gospel. The new 107.9 FM, W300EB, Macon, and WDDO 980 AM, Perry, Macon.
The views expressed on this program are not necessarily the views of the Glory 980 AM, the Glory Media Group, LLC, WDDO AM, its staff, management, or advertisers, but are the views and opinions of participants of the broadcast.
Welcome to Backpage, a new program that speaks to community-felt issues and topics, discussions, and solutions through both subjective Christian and spiritual interventions. Backpage is an open forum. And now, Backpage with Reverend Gregory Jackson.
Well, good evening again. Good evening again, and welcome to another edition of Backpage. I don't know if my microphone's on. I can't hear myself.
Hello.
Let's do a standby just for a second. We'll come back to you again if you can hear us. I don't know if you can or not. Test, test. We hear now. Okay, so again, we'll try this again. Good evening and welcome to Backpage here on WDDO The Glory. 107.9 on your FM dial, 980 on your AM dial. Now I can hear myself, so I feel like I'm on there now. We welcome you here to Backpage. We're here with you. You can also reach us. We hope you reach out while you're listening to us on Facebook. Hit your share button and share with everybody and anybody. Hit follow. And be sure to share with us, share with other people so they might be able to grasp what we're doing. Have had some really good topics here. We're working on our health series. It's okay to see about yourself, and trying to convince you as our listeners that it really is okay to see about yourself. If you don't see about yourself, in most cases, no one else is going to be willing to step up and see about you. So it's okay to see about yourself. So again, we're here on the Glory 107.9 FM, 980 AM. You can find this live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Periscope, LinkedIn, live streaming on the Glory app, on the Apple Store and Google Play Store, or just www.ddo live. You can get, I'm tongue-tied tonight, I guess. So again, be sure to follow us, be sure to share and show your page to everyone else so they too can be part of what's going on. So I got a lot of feedback tonight too. You hearing that?
Yeah, I am. Yes.
Maybe AJ can adjust that feedback because it's there too. But anyway, we're here again tonight as part of our series of It's Okay to See About Yourself. Gave a good build up into what we're doing, but as we're continuing on, we're bringing in physicians, we're bringing in specialists who can actually help you answer your questions. Save a lot of research for you, so we can keep you abreast of what's going on. And again, we will bring you nothing but licensed healthcare providers, physicians to be able to answer your questions and put out the information for you. Because I found too much, and let me skip for me. I'll come back to that. But again, here with me this evening, because dealing with total health, mental health, and just the total body, there's so much, such a broad subject and so much to cover. And we want to be fair in presenting to you, not leave you hanging with missing parts or segments of it. So I have back with me again, and we'll have with me again frequently because of what we need to cover with you. I have Dr. DEEPTI BHASIN, Dr. B. You have heard her here with me. You have responded to her. You have called in. You've talked to her. You've chatted to her. She's answered some questions for you. And it's just a pleasure to always have her here. She's a wonderful person, wonderful spirit, wonderful provider, just wonderful all the way around. So without any further ado, good evening to you, Dr. B.
Thank you. And thank you for having me. And good evening, everyone.
Well, it's good to have her here. We've covered quite a bit already. We've dealt with youth, we've dealt with adolescents, and we've touched a little bit on adults.
Yes.
But there's so much more. And after our discussion earlier this week, we decided we wanted to bring another avenue, wanted to go somewhere else with this, because again, from our conversation, we've deemed that this is just as important. So tonight, we want to talk about sleep hygiene, understanding sleep hygiene and mental health. One
of the most important things, and not just mental health, but also for physical and so total health.
I can attest to that.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So when we talk about sleep hygiene, let's talk about what sleep is.
Okay.
Right? And so sleep is the natural state, and it's a reoccurring state of mind and body, where we have altered it's echoing consciousness and inhibition with sensory and motor activity. It is one of the most essential functions of our body and mind. And it's important to not only feel rested, but also feel alert and be able to focus and function on a daily basis. So why is sleep so important? What happens when we don't have a good rested sleep?
Well, from a what do I want to say? I want to say at a witnessing standpoint, but there are so many things that we fall short of when we don't sleep. Or
Right.
our bodies, we don't. I think because we're so caught up with, I won't say endorphins because I think that's the right word, but because our adrenaline's flowing a certain way, we think we take that word, we're superhuman, we're
Right.
Superman. We can still do everything that we normally cannot do. So,
So again, I think now, Gary, you're touching on some of the important stuff. We're having some difficulties with our feedback here.
yeah, but you guys bear with us just for a minute here. Okay, let's see here. Okay. Okay. Y'all bear with us for a minute. We pause for station identification. Bear with us while we try to fix this right quick. Just give me enough so I can hear myself. We need to hear our reflections back in too. So. Is it coming from that way? Okay, let's see here now. Let's go down a little bit. Let's see. Test. Okay, that's good. How about yours? How was yours?
Test. Better. It's not echoing.
Yeah, that's good. I think they got it.
I
think that's your fault. Okay.
AJ, all right.
I think that's got it. Let's go
Yes.
ahead and which one are you using? You're using this one? These two. Okay. Good enough. Let's go ahead and see where we're going. We're kind of bogging our time, and that's we're going to blame AJ for that. AJ, and put him on there. But let's go ahead.
So AJ, did have a good night's sleep last night, huh? It's like, so what? Oh, so not sleeping well. You have performance issues at work. You have concentration issues, making decisions. Your reaction time becomes slower. And actually, there's several studies that have shown sleep deprivation mind is actually equal to a drunken driving person.
Right. And that's a bad position to be in, because I know there's been times when, and I shouldn't be telling on myself, but I know there's been times when I've been driving somewhere and I pause at a light or something for a few minutes.
That's not good.
Or going to the grocery store and I'm parked and I'm sitting there thinking, okay, what do I need to get?
Right.
It was 40 minutes later. I woke up and went into the store. So
you definitely are in sleep deprivation, and once we're in sleep deprivation, we accumulate the lack of sleep. So if our body requires, say, 8 hours and we're sleeping 6, we're going to be in deficit for 2, and it doesn't go away. It accumulates.
And I'm glad you said that, because something I read and it was talking about how we do that to ourselves with the sleep deprivation and what have you, and how we really throughout the week, like now, we're so exhausted because of the busy week and overextending ourselves and what have you. And I think most of us, and I would say some of the adolescents, college age kids, but adults as well, we think that if we're going to sleep in on the weekend, on Saturday, we stay in the bed Saturday, stay in the bed Sunday, that will help us make up for the sleep that we have.
And it can to some extent, but not completely make it equal.
Right.
Plus, remember, when you're talking about sleep, there are 2 main aspects of sleep. We all have an internal body clock, which is called circadian cycle, which runs on a 24-hour cycle. And it is directed by light, stimulation. So how does our body knows it's daytime versus nighttime versus, if I'm a shift worker, do I need to sleep in the morning versus evening? And that's where the circadian cycle plays a big part. And there is a chemical that is released in our body during that time, which is called as adenosine.
What is that again?
Adenosine.
Adenosine. Okay.
All right. So that's one. The other part of it's what we call melatonin, and I know everybody has heard or has taken or at least aware of melatonin that we get in Walmart or CVS or any of the local pharmacies, which is actually a natural occurring chemical in our body that gives us that tells our body it's time to sleep. So it peaks as the day goes by, and it's highest in the evening, and that's one of the indications for our brain to know it's time to go to bed.
So what can we say? I guess there's a absence or not an absence, shortage. What's the word I want of that melatonin that's trying to tell your body that it's actually time to go to sleep.
So it could be that. It could be that you're not listening to your body. And
Okay.
you're not doing it. So as time goes by, you are accumulating what we call sleep debt, meaning you have sleep deprivation, which adds up to a sleep debt. So in a week, if you're sleeping, your body needs 8 hours and you're sleeping 6, you'll have a 14-hour sleep debt by the end of 1 week.
Wow. And that really will throw you for a loss as well.
So even if you make up on the weekend, making up 14 hours is not truly practical. Because you'll sleep 8 hours that your body requires to function. And then you have to sleep extra to make up for the deficit.
So I guess it's fair to say with that too. And something I was reading from one of the studies that I did some research on, it was saying that pretty much what you were saying, to understanding sleep hygiene is a crucial part of maintaining physical health. You said that, which is important. Immunity, that's something we missed too, is the immunity part.
So people who are in sleep deprivation do have lower immunity than people who don't.
Right.
People who are sleep deprived do have a higher chances of physical illnesses like high blood pressure, diabetes, or if they already have coexisting worsening of those symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
If you are doing a weight loss program, it's actually going to make it very difficult if your sleep hygiene and sleep is not good and getting rested. Again, so obesity, weight gain.
Right.
You're talking about lure of just physical symptoms, right? Mm-hmm. Then you talk about attention and focus and decision making and judgment, which plays on a day-to-day basis in every aspect of our life.
Right. And I don't know if maybe, when certain procedures are done, whether someone's having a colonoscopy or upper GI series or EGD, where the doctor's looking down in your stomach, any procedures where you're sedated, you're conscious sedation, you're awake but you're sedated, Versed or propofol or fentanyl combinations, whatever. Those are the drugs. I'm saying that for the listeners because those are the drugs they use to give you the conscious sedation.
Right.
And as a reminder to the listeners, you hear the doctor and the nurses tell you in your discharge instructions a lot. And I'm trying to, I guess, make a parallel to this, to where you're told don't sign nothing, don't drive, don't do anything that commands your immediate attention, what have you.
Right.
So I guess that's kind of where that puts us. It's a parallel we can understand, but under those same things, not sleeping, not letting your body restore itself. And a lot of people think, and you tell me if I'm wrong, because I might be wrong with what I'm getting ready to say. We take power naps during the day.
So you brought up a really good point. Power naps are good, but they could not be more than 20 minutes.
Right.
Which is really short.
Right. So being that short, if I'm understanding the sleep cycle and the sleep process, what have you, in a power nap, you're not hitting that REM stage of sleep, which is the restorative stage of sleep.
Exactly. So you brought up a point where we're talking about the different stages of sleep. We have 2 stages. One we call as REM,
right?
Rapid eye movement, in which the body physical muscles rest because our muscles are paralyzed during that.
Right.
So your body is recuperating. That's why it's called restorative, right?
Right.
And then there is a non-REM, which also is called a deep sleep or slow wave sleep,
Uh-huh.
which is actually the one that where your brain sort of sleeps.
And that's, I guess, when we can see those, if we're having a EEG, we can see the brain
The slow
waves and what they're
waves.
doing,
So
what
you
have
have
you.
the waves all through the sleep cycle. What we're looking for is delta or slow waves, which is part of this cycle. And during that stage, the REM stage and the deep REM stage, which is stage 3 or 4 is what we call, and those are very technical stuff. Lots of good things are happening in your body. Your body is healing, anti-aging stuff is happening, immune system is getting wound up, your memory is getting consolidated. It's going into more retaining memory. So lots of good things are happening during the deep sleep.
Right. So in essence, we're cheating ourselves a lot.
Right.
By not allowing, and I think on the psyche side, the mind, the mind side of it, we talk about restorative sleep. We talk about the REM, the rapid eye movement sleep, when we're actually getting the rest, or where the body goes into the paralyzed state. And there's so much we can talk about it. Because see, when you said it, my mind just started fluttering when you said it, because we talked then about people, and we can talk about this later on. It's something about when people wake up and they feel like their body's paralyzed. They're awake, but they can't move yet because there's
a
that
really
paralysis.
Scary state.
It is,
right?
because your body is still, if I'm not mistaken, still in that REM stage, and you're not waking up.
But your mind is awake.
Right.
The mind is if you did the EEG, the brain wave, it would show like the brain is working like any other time, but your muscles are paralyzed during that time.
Right.
And so again, that's where the night terrors happen. There's certain medical conditions that happen during that stage when your REM sleep or the restorative sleep is not good.
Right.
And there's certain conditions that happen during the non-REM sleep.
Right.
Substances like alcohol, tobacco, some over-the-counter medications can affect both the REM and the non-REM sleep. But again, both phases of sleep are important.
Right.
You have to have, and it's about 3 or 4 phases in each night cycle that we have. 3 or 4 of REM and 3 or 4 of non-REM is what we have for the body to recuperate, and each phase is about 90. So you're going in and out. And so when people say that they're waking up at 2 or 3 in the morning, that's one of the switch that your body's going from the non-REM to the REM.
Wow. And I guess, one of the reasons too that I brought that up too was because we're talking about the mind, we're talking about the brain. And I think a lot of people aren't aware of what's actually happening too, because when we do that, when we're cheating ourselves for sleep, and I'm sitting here telling on myself like I really shouldn't be. I'm talking about somebody else. I'm not talking about me. But
your friend.
Yeah, I'm not talking about my friend. Yeah. And during those times, we don't realize the effect that it's having on our bodies as well.
So there's a state called as chronic sleep deprivation, which means that our bodies are adapting to being chronically deprived. And we don't even know that we're chronically deprived and we're pushing through and functioning.
Right.
But we're not functioning at the par that we need to be functioning.
Right.
And in that, you have daytime sleepiness, alertness issues. Again, think about it at the same fit as you're drinking and driving. And we all know that isn't something we need to be doing or even considering because of our reaction times or decision making, and putting us and everybody else around us in danger.
Right. And, I look at it too from the sides of cardiovascular.
Yes.
Respiratory. Someone was talking to us this evening briefly about sleep apnea. Let's see if I look around the corner about sleep apnea. And, people aren't aware either that lack of sleep can really seriously affect your pulmonary status, your respiratory. It affects your heart. It can cause you to have arrhythmias.
You can have pulmonary hypertension.
Exactly.
You're talking about daytime slowness, concentration, and accumulator.
Right.
Not just, I didn't have a good night's sleep today and I'm going to be okay. If it's chronic, you can see how some of these conditions can look with the memory issues and misdiagnosed as maybe dementia or cognitive or ADD. Again, sleep deprivation has so many impacts on our just physical health, that it is so important for us to follow through sleep hygiene.
Well, let me ask you this. On that same note, of having that deprivation, what actually, how deep does that affect the mind? I mean, just focus. I know it affects the body, the blood pressure, the heart, and all.
Right.
The mind itself, the brain itself.
So there are a couple aspects to it, right? I mean, if I am sleep deprived because my work schedule has been very hectic and I have not been getting my, say, 8 hours, and I'm coming up with the 8 hours is because, as an infant, you start with sleeping 16 hours a day to, as we get older, an adult, you need about 7 to 8 hours of sleep.
Wow.
And as we get old, geriatric or elderly patients, the sleep even is lesser, and the deep sleep even gets lesser, right? So again, the mind part of it is, number one, if I haven't had a full night's sleep, and not just one night, but day after day, week after week, depression, anxiety, we know decision making, concentration, memory. Right. So all those comes part in the mind part, right?
Right.
Depends on what part of my sleep cycle is not to the app, right? I could have nightmares and dream issues.
And that's a big problem within itself too.
And there are conditions, there are mental health conditions or mind conditions or brain conditions that affect sleep also. So it's a catch-22, right? The sleep deprivation causes some of these conditions or worsens some of these conditions. And these conditions also have sleep issues as part of the disease process. And so, again, it's all interconnected.
Right.
You can have hormonal imbalance, which again leads to other, physical symptoms and mental symptoms.
Well, it troubles me a lot because you see people, and you don't know, people talk narcolepsy a lot. Narcolepsy this, narcolepsy that. Is it really narcolepsy, or is it just because you have, I guess, trained your body to function a certain way and done certain things, and here your body, that's all your body knows how to respond, is to try what it
sleep
can.
deprived. And so the minute you get to sit down and have a moment, it falls asleep. But the quality of sleep is as equal as the amount of sleep. So I may be sleeping 16 hours a day, but if my circadian cycle doesn't sync with my body clock, then I'm not going to feel rested. I'm not going to go into deep sleep.
And that's where we need to be. I would love, and I tell people sometimes, I say, Saturdays, leave me alone. Don't leave me alone, but don't call me, or if I'm having something done, something I need help with at the house, they say, well, we'll be there at 7 o'clock. Oh no, you won't. I tell them,
like, I need my sleep.
Yeah. Now, anytime, because I can't sleep.
Right.
Once the sun comes up, it's hard for me to sleep anyway. Once the sun's up, I'm up.
So the circadian cycle, you're talking about light and your body clock.
Right.
The light comes on and you see. So when we talk about sleep hygiene, that's one of the things we say. We need to have a very calm, dim lights in the bedroom.
Right.
Where, you want to make it as comfortable as you want to. You want to use the bed and the bedroom just for sleep, not for anything else. If you're hanging out, you need to be hanging out, not in the bed, but in another room. So again, because it does affect our circadian cycle, and you talk about the electronics now, which are bright. So we call screen ban.
Right.
We need to be in a screen ban.
Yeah, and you hear that. So we talk about this. We've been talking about our children a lot as well.
Yes.
So I think that's a good time to say, and not just for our children, but for us too. At a certain time, that TV is to go off. Is it called blue light or whatever? Those blue lights. We need to turn the TV off. We need to start preparing ourselves to go to sleep.
And usually, you want to give yourself about 30 to 40 minutes, because your mind and your brain and your body has to know this is the sleep time. So they have to get in sync so that when you hit bed, they automatically are in that stage of going into the first stage of non-REM.
Right.
where you're kind of in a trance, where somebody calls your name, you still wake up, you still are aware of things around you, but you're not that aware. And that's the stage 1
Okay.
of the non-REM sleep.
Right. So how much does interruption of REM sleep, how much does it actually affect? Say I've gone to bed at a decent hour, gone to bed at 9:30. And during that time of going to bed, that I fell asleep. I'm so tired. My body has allowed itself to get relaxed enough, and I go into my REM stage. Then I'm waking. I'm shaking from my REM stage, and so at that point, how much damage is that doing to me by not reaching?
So even though you may be sleeping, say 8 hours, right? That's what you need. I'm throwing a number here, right?
Uh-huh.
But if you have had interruptions and you're waking up, or new parents, or if you're doing shift work, or if you're first responder and you're on call, those people where they're constantly waking up or getting disturbed, it is also goes into sleep deprivation.
So that takes us back to something that our friend here had mentioned, sleep apnea, where you're during sleep apnea. Are we actually, I think from the sleep studies, are we actually reaching that? Are we hitting REM stage and jumping back out of it, and then we wake ourselves again around? Is that what we're doing from there?
So we're really not going into the deep sleep.
Okay, so we're not hitting it.
So the other part of the sleep apnea is also your brain does not get enough oxygen. That leads to another concentration issues and memory issues and irritability, mood swings. So you were talking about how does lack of sleep affects your mood or your mental psyche, right? You're more angry, you're easily frustrated, you're more irritable, you may be easily sad or emotional.
Right.
Again, you may be more impulsive in some situations because you just want to get done and you're frustrated that you don't have patience to, go through certain processes of thinking and consequences and thinking about those things. You also, the anxiety goes on, your coping skills are lesser.
And that's a problem too, because, we talk about interpersonal relationships and those things. And, if our coping ability is diminished because we're tired, and it's almost like the expression when you're missing lunch and you haven't had nothing to eat. Now, what's the phrase they say? Hangry, because you haven't had nothing to eat. So I guess we throw that in there too, some kind of way.
I didn't even think about it in that way, but yes, it's you can correlate those things.
Yeah,
absolutely, because you won't have enough tolerance to hear your partner out,
and that can be a problem.
And that leads into communication issues and sleep. Just by not sleeping enough. Imagine how vast it can affect and impact our lives.
Well, I think about that a lot myself, and I did a lot. When we talked again last night, I tried to go and just find as much as I could about this, because you have, and I'm thankful for you for another thing too, because you've opened my eyes to a lot of things as we're discussing this, and I'm able to share this with my daughter, my son, my grandchildren, with some of the things, because typical, and I think we talked when you first came on with us about young children a certain age having iPads and iPhones, and the parents, and I'm gonna say this, if one of my granddaughters is bad about this, because her mom will let her do what she wants for a tablet while she's watching TV or doing something else, and because she still has that tablet in there when mom's asleep.
So she still has it. So you don't know if she's waking up in the middle of the night or the lights are up, because even the lights up can stimulate you.
Exactly.
So you don't even have to be, just even the lights can let your brain say it's time to wake up.
Right.
And so, and when you're talking about that age group, imagine you need anywhere between 12 to 17 hours of sleep.
And it's funny because I'm sitting there, and because I am a night person, I'm sitting there sometimes, I won't say what time, but all of a sudden my phone will go off and it's a FaceTime
Yeah.
call
Oh, wow. Okay.
from my granddaughter at 11:30 or 12 o'clock at
Not a
night.
good sign.
And it's like, what are you doing up right now? And she say, oh, I was telling you good night. And then she'll hang it up real quick. I say, you better turn that thing off, girl.
So consistency in making rules for the kids and taking away the electronics is going to be, and for us too, we have to put our electronics time down
Right.
about 30-40 minutes before bedtime. It could be your time, it could be your spiritual time that you read your devotion, you do your routine. Again, that is where we have to separate telling our brains from saying it's awake time to bedtime. It also gives the brain rest from not doing anything.
And we really need that, because a lot of times, I just find myself, and I find myself mentally tired, not just physically. I mean, 'cause I'm already physically tired when I'm depriving myself of the sleep that I need. I've already made myself physically drained.
Right.
But the mental part of it, being mentally drained at the same time, can cause a big taxation on your body, because here you are, your body's tired, your body doesn't want to function like it should. Your motor skills are altered. Motor skills, your movement of your hands, your legs, your coordination, what have you, is
You're
altered.
more clumsy.
Exactly. And it subjects you to risk
Right.
of falling, of being injured, of hurting yourself even more.
But also chronic fatigue.
Right.
Building it up. So chronic fatigue, memory issues, concentration, attention, irritability, patience, tolerance, sleep deprivation can exaggerate actually because of all that stuff.
And I guess for whatever reason, I guess I'm just going to say we just don't get it.
We don't get it.
We don't get it.
As a society, I think we're chronically sleep deprived.
I think we are, because we can't miss anything. And that takes us back almost like our adolescents, our kids, because they don't want to miss anything at all. They just go. They don't want to miss anything. So where does that put us?
So talking about kids and adults, during sleep, lots of growth stuff was happening. Growth hormone is released. So imagine if you are sleep deprived as a child, you may have a stunted growth.
And what good it'll do if we don't allow ourselves? 'Cause I think stunted growth, a lot of times parents want to say it's because of something else, or I shouldn't say this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Oh, my child's been vaccinated, and the vaccines have stunted my child's growth, or
have some. So again, vaccine. I mean, again, we all have our belief system, and we, right or wrong, but. Absolutely. I personally think, and medically, that every kid has to be vaccinated. It is the parent's choice, but there is benefits from protecting and creating immune. And there's something called herd immunity, where because of being vaccinated, we could eradicate certain conditions and disease like polio, which means a lot. So
I think let's do this. I see some. I'm getting some messages that folks are out here, but I'm not seeing them on the screen. I might have AJ take a look at that too, because I've had a few people text me saying they cannot reach us. They can't pull the show up on Facebook. There's a couple of them coming through. So let's do this for the listeners out there. Again, you're listening to Back Page on WDDO 107.9 FM. Tonight, again, with me is Dr. B, Dr. DEEPTI BHASIN, Dr. B. She's here for you. We're talking about sleep hygiene, and we're going to branch off in a little bit, talking about parenting and health. But the phone is open for you. So if you want to call and talk to, we had some really good calls last night. 478-250-1444. The phone is here for you to be able to reach Dr. BHASIN, I think you're saying Dr. B. So I'm gonna let her real quick too, while we're waiting for some of you to give us a call and share with us. I'm waiting to you. I'm gonna let her tell you again, give her her location, and tell you more about her practice as well, because that's important, because I want to make sure that listeners are able to reach out to her as they need for themselves or for family members. And so I said that inclusively, for yourselves or for your family members. So, or if you don't want to be a family member, you can say that person your friend. So
Right.
but just any kind of way. It's okay to
Somebody
see
you
about
love,
this.
or yeah, we have two locations. We are located in Macon and Warner Robins. Our Macon location is 402 Muskegon Boulevard, Suite 400, and Warner Robins. Our Macon office is located off the North Side Drive, just be across the street from Arby's, in that plaza.
Okay.
And you can reach us either through an email, which would be front desk at BHASIN, MD, BHASIN, M is in Mary, D as in doctor, .com, or 478-333-3058. And we would be happy to entertain if they let us know that they were on the show or they got the number, they would get them sooner. We usually have a 3 or 4 months wait. But, if there's anything we can do, we would be happy to do and help the folks out there.
So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying, and we're so we're so thankful for having you here, because it makes a big difference that to have someone who can reach people, first of all, because and I got to go back. I talk about this. I probably talk about it too much. I talk about stigmas and people being afraid to reach out and seek help. But when you have someone who has that calming presence, that calming spirit, and is easy to talk to, then that makes a big difference when you're reaching out to someone, when you're trying to get some help, when you're trying to see about yourself. Because that's one thing I know that scares a lot of people away, even in general practice, a surgeon, what have you. Then when they talk about, well, you've got to have this procedure done, instead of and the doctors already know. The doctor knows what they're doing.
Right.
And we put our trust into the physicians because we know what they're doing, but we get scared because they say we need to have this procedure done. So there goes the apprehension. We want to run away instead of running to get the problem taken care of.
And I think the other thing that I've heard a lot is, people shy away from going to doctor's offices because they don't know what news they're going to get. And so they would rather not face it than know. But what I would say is, when you're going to your doctors, write down the questions before you go.
Right.
Because you feel rushed, you feel like the doctor's not hearing you, doctors rush. And so that way all your concerns have been answered.
Right. And that's important.
That's very important. Right, take notes. If you're not sure what's going on, and you may not remember to tell, when your loved one asks what happened in the doctor's appointment, take notes. When patients tell me, can you write that down for me? I actually know that they're really listening to me.
Right.
Because it is important, and they want to be able to convey whatever I'm saying to them to their families.
Right. And it's important that we also encourage people to look out and be prepared to take notes. Allow yourself some time, and that comes back, first of all, to preparing your body, resting, to where you're able to listen and focus what's going on. You got to focus. I believe when you're going to a physician appointment, a medical appointment, you need to be able to focus intently on what's being said.
Absolutely.
And to be able to take notes. And if you're not sure you can take notes, or what your focus is, take someone with you who can listen and take those notes. It's been my habit a lot of times, because I'm kind of a stickler for knowing what's going on. If I'm having a procedure, whoever takes me, I want them to, because of course the physicians will come back out after the procedure and talk to you. If you can't remember what's going on, take notes, and you record it. Ask the doctor, can you record what's going on? Because I want to know. Exactly. I want to know all the details of what was said, what's going on.
And ask questions never. If something doesn't make sense or you don't understand, there's no bad question. There's no stupid question. If I can use the word stupid.
Exactly. And it's worth using that word.
It is extremely important that you come out of that appointment feeling that you've been heard.
Right.
That your concerns have been in some form or shape addressed. Right. And that you can communicate with your doctor and feel that you are communicating and building a relationship and trust your doctor.
Right.
And those things don't happen just because somebody's a doctor, right?
Right.
Trust has to be earned. And
it does. It does.
So as a patient, it is so important to be able to communicate your needs to your patient. And then when I say that, that comes down to sleep. Most, we generally, most physicians would ask, how do you sleep? And most of the time patients will say, fair, good, right? But it's not a redundant question. It's not like, how are you doing?
Right,
They
right.
really want to know what quality, and what they were looking for is, are you tired? It's hard for you to wake up in the morning and you feel really, still drowsy and want to sleep in a little bit longer. Is your memory issues or concentration issues are not as good? Are you feeling really, middle of the day, suddenly you need have a desire or need to take a nap?
Right, right.
Those are all signs of sleep deprivation.
Right, right. And a lot of people will blame, and that's just the human side, because they don't want to admit fault, guilt. So I love the word spin. They spin it. But, sitting in a meeting or sitting in a seminar or a conference somewhere, and the word that will come back and say, they were kind of boring. They were monotone. They were boring. They weren't keeping my attention, my focus. But in essence, a lot of times it's because your sleep pattern's off. Your sleep deprivation's going on. And I was reading again. We're here on WDDO back page. We'll have Dr. B. We're talking about sleep deprivation, sleep hygiene. So again, 478-250-1444. You all do not have to be scared to call in. We had some good discussions last week. I'm gonna check too to make sure some other things aren't going on. I don't know what's really going on, but we want you to call in. We have Dr. B here for you. If nothing else, get your pad and paper in front of you, make some notes. If you can't make notes right now, you can always go back and look at the show later on and make notes off of the show and have questions to be able to ask. So that's really important for if you're going to do what you're supposed to do, and prepare yourself to actually get some help and be able to ask the questions. You need to do that. So, and if you're afraid to talk, you can also IM while you're here on Facebook. You can also email us at backpage2018@windstream.net, backpage2018@windstream.net. That's all lowercase and one word. I'm gonna spell it out for you. BACKPAGE 2018 at Windstream, WINDSTREAM.net. You can reach us on there. You can also again go back and look at the repeats of the shows later on, and be able to send your questions to us, because Dr. B will be back with us again too. So you can send your questions. We want you to answer the question. I want you to call in. Quit being scared and call in. It's scary.
It is scary to call in and be. I mean, it's not easy.
It's not, because I know there's been a few people who didn't want to talk on the radio because they were afraid, but then they saw how easy it was. So it's a good thing. So a matter of fact, you'll enjoy knowing that you're having a conversation with someone. And I think that's the biggest thing. I look so forward to Wednesdays to come in here, because I get so much satisfaction out of trying to help people and be able to share as I can. So
talking about, again, sleep, you necessarily don't need to use medications or, prescriptions. There's some natural stuff, melatonin being one very reasonable thing to do. Essential oils, lavender, some calming teas. So, again, getting into habit, getting a routine, getting a structure, having same time, whether it's a weekend or not, going to bed, sometimes taking a hot shower. Remember, grandma used to say, take a hot glass of water, milk.
Oh, yeah.
Banana, those things have what we call tryptophan, which increases the sleep or it makes you sleepy. So again, there's so many things that we as individuals can do, not necessarily medication-wise, to keep a routine and a good sleep hygiene. Try to avoid caffeine and smoking cigarettes. They both are stimulants. Again, coffee can stay in your system for about 8 to 9 hours.
And I guess we need to include in that too, caffeinated drinks, the Coca-Cola. People who have the Coca-Cola.
Mountain Dew.
Mountain Dew has a lot of caffeine in it.
I think it's one of the largest amount.
It is.
Dr. Pepper and Mountain Dew.
Yeah, and then they have even gone as far to add more caffeine to those.
Right, the extra caffeinated one, right?
Yeah.
And even the non-caffeinated one, when you look at the non-caffeinated coffee or tea or sodas, they still have caffeine. It's not caffeine free. So I think we need to be very careful when we are saying that don't drink caffeine,
Mhm.
but if you're drinking non-caffeinated one too, the other part of it is they're all diuretics, so they make you go pee.
Exactly, and people don't realize that, and that's something that's going to disturb your
Sleep.
circadian rhythm and sleep as well.
Exactly.
Is because you're still getting those trace amounts
Right.
of caffeine. So I'm a big proponent of tea. I love hot tea. I know I'm in the South, and probably somebody will come call and fuss at me for saying enough of the cold, sweet iced tea, all that sugar. But I love tea. I don't know if my mother did that to me. She
Right.
put that curse on me. It's not a curse on me, but I love tea. So if I have my preference, it's using the old fashioned tea ball and the loose leaves.
Oh, okay. Just the old-fashioned
Yeah.
way. Nice.
And I've learned how to not put sugar in
So
my
what
teas.
do you use?
I use nothing.
No honey, no
I used to use honey, and I take that back. Every now and then, I will use a little bit of honey.
Right.
And there used to be a guy who I was able to get local
And I
honey
was about to
from
say that the benefits of local honey.
so much because I'm an allergy guy
Right.
too. So it has a lot of good effects to it if
Right.
you use the honey. But my gastro doc, I'm gonna mention his name because he's a good friend of mine too, Dr. Seji, who's
Yeah.
the gastro doc, Dr. Sharyar Seji. He told me, he said one day, he said, Greg, you like teas.
Uh-huh.
He said, I know you don't do caffeinated drinks or you
Right.
drink a lot of things like they said, but your teas, he said, you're cheating yourself of really tasting the flavor of the teas, the essence of the teas, the leaves, the fruit that's in there. He said, drink it like it is. Let it steep and then
So
drink it like it
it's
is.
an art. I mean, like coffee. I mean, it's a whole. Tea is an art. I mean, different leaves, how they dry it, how much they dry it,
Right.
aging. But even for sleep part of it, you don't
Mhm.
have to drink tea, but the herbal part of it, right?
Right. That's what.
So those are the ones that are calming.
Right. The ones that has the chamomile, the
Chamomile,
lavender.
lavender.
There's some other ones too.
Sometimes cinnamon and orange.
Cinnamon, orange,
kind of gives you the
hibiscus.
warmth. Hibiscus.
Yeah.
Those could be calming and get you to the mood of telling your brain to calm down and it's time
Right.
to sleep. And,
Right. And that
so-
goes back to what you said too about the lighting in the room.
Right.
If you're taking those steps, don't cheat yourself. If you're doing the teas and trying to get yourself prepared to go to sleep, don't cheat yourself by leaving the lights and the TVs and the blue lights on.
right.
as
And
well.
I mean, including bed sheets and your comforters, you want to be as comfortable in that environment as you can.
Right.
It's an ambience thing. It's just not. I mean, it's more than just use bed for sleeping, right? It's the whole process of going to the bed.
Right. Right.
It's a ritual.
And once that ritual becomes a part of you, I mean, we have rituals for everything else. Some of us, we have our ritual. We have to get up and eat breakfast.
Right.
Sometimes we eat the same thing for breakfast: banana, boiled egg, or toast or something. We have our rituals for breakfast. We have our rituals for how we prepare to go to work,
Right.
getting our clothes ready. So we need to have that ritual for going to sleep
Right.
as well.
So do you know how long does it take to change a habit or make a behavior into more firm?
No, interesting. You said it. I read something about that. I can't remember
Right.
exactly
Right.
where it is.
So in the past, and I'm talking about past, I mean the 1950s to 70s, there was lots of research that came out during that time about how much time does it take for changing a behavior and making a habit,
Mhm.
right? They came up with the number 21, which we don't know how and where it came, but it can range from 15 days to up to 257 days to change a behavior.
That's
So
a long time.
that's a long time. So talk about sleep hygiene. We all have not the best sleep hygiene because of our work schedule, our lifestyles. And so imagine if we start working on something like that. It could be 15, depends on what you're trying to change.
Right.
So on an average, it says for a habit or the behavior to become a routine, it's average is 66 days, but it can be, again, 15 to 257 days.
Wow. Because I know there's, and I'm going to use this to parallel I'm a golfer.
Okay, I did not know that.
Oh,
So
I
I
love
did not
golf.
know that.
Oh, I'm addicted to golf.
Okay, so how often do you play?
I've really just started because I was afraid to go out there after having
the
the hip
COVID?
and the back
Okay,
and the
okay.
COVID, what have you,
Yeah.
and they've done good far as saying, when the weather's nice, saying how many people can be on a cart, your
Right.
distance and what have you.
Right.
But I've been out, and it's because of my surgeries I had. It took a while to get back out again, but I've been out I think 6 times.
Okay.
And
Good.
loved it. And I was timid at first
Right.
because it's like, okay, I got to swing through. Is it going to hurt my hip? Is it going to hurt my back?
Right.
So then that's where muscle memory comes
Right.
in. And once that muscle memory is reestablished,
It's
then
quicker.
it's quicker.
Yeah.
It's quicker. And then your body is trained to
Right.
do those things. It's that routine that that you
Same
do.
thing with when you're driving a home, when you've lived in that house for years and years, you sometimes don't know
Yeah.
how you get there. And you haven't broken any laws, you haven't hurt anybody. You know, you've driven. I mean, but you don't know. You're not aware.
Yeah, I had years ago, I had a scary thing. It was years ago. And I was going from Lower Alabama in the Fort Rucker, Dothan area, back up to Montgomery to Maxwell Gunner Air Force Base. I drove right through Montgomery, ended up in Mobile. I don't know.
That's a long ride. What is it, like 2 hours?
Yes. And I was fine. I got there and was all of a sudden like, what am I? Me and my friend who was riding with us, we were like, okay, what are we doing in Mobile?
So you're just chatting and, talking.
Yeah,
and just,
time just passed and we went on and we were alert. We were,
Right.
it's just strange that something like that happened. And it made us think then, because we didn't know any better. Were we sleep driving? Did we sleep for 2 hours?
The brain does really, really well with those kind of behavior because it's the most efficient thing, right?
Right.
You don't have to plan, you don't have to think, you don't have to make decisions. It's just doing, but you're not breaking any laws, you're not hurting anybody. I mean, so again, the more we get into those behavior, like how you said you drove from Montgomery to without even knowing, is where we need to get the sleep hygiene back to.
Right.
It should be a routine. You have your dinner, not a big dinner. You may have a snack, but not a huge snack, right? Try to stay out of carbs because again, your blood sugar would drop and your body's going to give you a signal that you need to wake up because you're hungry, right?
Okay.
And so, protein is good. It fills you up. Maybe protein with some fat if you're on some sort of keto diet.
Right.
And go do your night routine, take skincare. I mean, men and women both need to take care of themselves. But self-care.
See, that's why I look so young.
Oh yes. With your sleep hygiene, right?
Yeah. So let's talk about this. What time is it? This time goes too quick.
Oh, it's 6.
It goes too quick. So let's talk about this real quick because you mentioned that, and that's a proponent of it too. We talk about what is a good time because I wanted to talk about nutrition.
Yes.
Too, because nutrition is a big thing that affects the quality of our sleep, as you were saying as well.
Yes.
From it's saying specific foods, and you just said that kind of a second ago. Specific foods can affect the person's circadian rhythm, what have you. Effects of inflammation, foods that cause inflammation, the stimulants we talked about, the caffeine or chocolate. I know somebody used to have an issue taking
anything that causes acid reflux. If somebody does have acid reflux, again, you're gonna, you don't want to take, diuretics or any soda or caffeinated drinks or drink too much liquids or fluids before close to bedtime because you're going to be waking up and going to bathroom. That's disruptive. When you're talking about sleep disruption, there are 3 aspects. It's difficulty to fall in sleep. So what we call initiating state.
Right.
Difficulty in maintaining sleep, where you're waking up, you'll hear people talk and say, I wake up as a clock by clock at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And that's their circadian cycle changing.
So is that a regular?
That's a regular, but you don't. The ideal situation during that time should be you should turn and toss, and you may be a little bit awake, aware a little bit, but then you go right back to sleep.
So let me ask you this, because this will feed my little knowledge base again too. So the folks who sleep, who toss and turn at night, if they're not actually hitting that REM stage, that restful stage, what about the people who absolutely can go to sleep when they do get to sleep?
Right.
And they wake up in the exact same position. They have not turned, moved, or nothing. Is that saying that person might have actually just got to REM stage quick and was able to sleep that whole time? Or because I know REM stage involves moving of your legs and what have you as well sometimes.
REM
Yeah.
Or non-REM.
Non-REM.
Right.
Yeah, because REM is you're paralyzed.
You're paralyzed.
Yeah. So is that part of what I'm trying to suggest?
So when people fall quickly into like they hit, they put the head on the pillow and then out, and then they're out deep out. So they're gone to the non-REM deep sleep or the slow wave very quickly, which is also not the best scenario. You want to have the transitions and progressions where you go into the drowsiness, the trance of knowing that you're sleepy but you're not yet sleepy.
Right.
You're aware of some things, and then going to the next stage where you're a little deeper. You may fall asleep, or you can easily be light
rouse
sleepers,
back up again.
right? What people call light sleepers,
right?
And then going to deep sleeps. So you want to go through the stages. Usually when people go straight into the slow wave sleep or the deep phase, that tells me you're sleep deprived.
Yeah.
That tells me, that you're sleep deprived.
Yeah. Because I guess my habit, and I don't mind, I don't mind sharing with the listeners and all. I will do that. I'll go in there and I'll get myself ready and I get on that, whatever side I'm asleep on, I sleep on that side, and I have this with a pillow, and I sit there and I lay and get myself prepared, and then I feel myself getting drowsy, and I might nod out for a couple minutes and wake up again. Right. Then I know I'm getting ready to get close.
Right.
So then I'll go ahead because I read a lot. I do a lot of reading and writing at night.
But when you're doing that, writing is not a good idea because now you're stimulating and you're using your muscles. Right. Even when you're reading, you don't want to be reading things that are emotionally affecting you.
Right.
It has to be very neutral, easy reads, not things that would, make you attached to or you feel strongly about. You don't want to be creating any emotional reaction in your brain because that awakes the brain. That stimulates.
Yeah, that or something to cause you to start thinking.
Right.
To get I hear our music coming on again.
Oh,
okay.
Wow,
so time goes by. I need to go ahead and change this over to an hour and a half to get things in like the way they need to be because this has gotten too good. But again, this has been a good night. We get started on these topics. We still had to talk about parenting, so we'll have to make that our next one. But you've been listening to Backpage here with Dr. B and me. And it rhymes, Dr. B and me. That's good. We're here on Backpage. Again, I gave you our email address. I've had some problems with our Cash App, our sponsor thing, so I don't know what it's doing, so I got to call them. But if you'd like to help sponsor the show, do Cash App, $ Backpage 2018. Again, $ Backpage 2018. You can help sponsor us through then. But again, we'll have Dr. B back with us. We got so much to cover because the mind is so broad. There's so much we can talk about through the mind and the processes thereof. And I got to figure out what's going on with that. That's driving me crazy. But Dr. B, I'm going to give you a quick word to wrap up. We got about 2 minutes. So
thank you. And guys, it's very important to have a good sleep hygiene. Keep it consistent. Keep it routine. And do your best the next day.
And that's right, because we want to be our best in every situation that we can be. And that's driving me crazy. Okay, I don't know what's going on, but again, good night to our listeners. We'll see you next week at 6 o'clock, and hopefully we'll have this whatever is going on fixed. So, God bless you. We love you. Take care, and you'll be back with Dr. B and me again. We try to continue helping you out with things that are mine.
I'm so grateful, and I'm so thankful. Yeah. I'm so grateful, yeah. Hallelujah. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Backpage with your host, Reverend Gregory Jackson, Associate Minister at Mount Moriah Missionary Baptist Church. Backpage is community talk that examines community issues with the intent of shining a new light to those affected, concerned, and desiring better. Join us next week at 6 p.m. for Backpage with Reverend Gregory Jackson.
The views expressed on this program are not necessarily the views of the Glory 980 AM, the Glory Media Group, LLC, WDDO AM, its staff, management, or advertisers, but are the views and opinions of the participants of the broadcast.
Connecting the community through gospel. The new 107.9 FM, W300EB, Macon, and WDDO 980 AM, Perry, Macon.